So, sir, we have talked about various planets being affecting Venus. Now, let's talk about Venus and Moon. And why is it so important? Because Moon gets exalted in the house of Venus. So, I think a couple of months ago, you were talking about Chhatra Yoga in one of the videos, and which is formed by Venus and Moon. Probably people would like to listen a little bit more about it.
See, Chhatra Yoga is a very simple yoga which says, you will have somebody holding umbrella behind you, right? Or basically it means you'll get a lot of respect in life. Okay. And everyone requires respect, who does not? Yeah. Like if you are being treated fairly, people respect you for what you are. So one of the shlokas is from Jatak Tattvam. It says, when the fourth lord is exalted, our fourth house is exalted planet, our fourth house is benefic planets, you will be respected within your community. Okay. Right? It's a very simple shlok. And the Chhatra Yoga says, when the moon is exalted, moon is in fourth house, Venus is in 3, 9, 11 or 12, you will have Chhatra Yoga for it. But then this other part of the shlok says, if the yoga is not phalit, and this is for fourth house malefics as well, people who have fourth house malefics, even if the yoga is not phalit, it says, please pray to Lord Shiv. The person should be proficient in doing puja of Bhagwan Shiv to activate this yoga. Now this yoga, when it is getting phalit by the pujas of Bhagwan Shiv, if you see, moon is controlled by Bhagwan Shiv. Yeah. And seventh house, whenever you see seventh house planets, it is always advised, please pray to Bhagwan Shiv, because he is a symbol of unity between Shakti and Shiv. He is prayed in a ling format, right? Ling is basically who you truly are, right. Your identity, and that is what Shivlinga is. His form not in a form of like Bhagwan Vishnu. His form only in a ling format. So you go and pray to Bhagwan Shiv, and you will have all those troubles. Like if you read BPHS, Graha Yoga, Graha Shanti Adhyay, which says, whenever there is a Jupiter in 7th house, please do Shiva Sahasranama.
Okay.
You will not be troubled. Another shlok says, whenever there is a plant in 7th house and Lagan is empty, the person is worried without reason.
Okay.
Worried without reason, right? That's Lagan if Lagan is empty. Because right. There is no king on the seat.
Yeah. 8th house, 3rd and 8th house are very special because entry and exit from the world. So if Venus happens to be placed in 3rd or 8th house, does that mean a person has to serve the partner?
3rd house shlok Saravali says the person will have bad eyes. 3rd house shlok Saravali says the person will have bad eyes. Okay. Because Venus is a karaka for eyes, right? Okay. So what is happening is Venus in 3rd house, which is house of multiplicity, or Venus in 2nd house with sun or moon also has a bad eyes. So whenever there is a Shukra in 3rd house, it means the person is more interested in art form. And somehow the 3rd house lord gets more powerful. The person will have a same-sex marriage. If you see same-sex marriages or LGBT, all these things, that's basically the Shukra 3rd house or Shukra 6th house, and 6th lord getting more powerful than Shukra. This is when it comes in. Because the person, the way of thinking, like why people are racist. If you see, that's basically 3rd house, because 3rd house tells you are man, woman, you're Brahmin, you're Kshatriya, you're basically identifying people. Or 6th house, 3 and 6. It's Mercury which distinguishes, right? So if Shukra, which is a karka for partners, comes in 3rd house, and that's a bad position for Shukra, the person is not able to identify whether I have to go with male, female, or both ways. Yeah. The first sign of duality. Yeah. This is where the Shukra goes in trouble. Shukra in 8th house, always in distress. Yeah. But the person has a lot of knowledge about deep sciences. Like all those, see, 8th house is metaphysical house. Something which is beyond life and death. It is not a normal house. Mm-hmm. Any planet goes in it. Things are, if there's a benefic sign, the person will have, I remember very clearly, there was one person who was doing, this guy is a doctor in US. This guy is doing 10 Mahavidya sadhana. Shukra 8th house. But at the same time, he also has a trouble in marriage. Like he got married one time, got married to a wrong person. He's a Brahmin, right? So he married another Brahmin girl. Shukra is also a Brahmin. But Shukra 8th house, what kind of a Brahmin you're going to get? So, married a Brahmin, but that Brahmin girl used to eat beef. Day one, divorce.
Okay.
See, 8th houses of dead animals, dead people. Shukra, which is a karka for cow. Shukra is a karka for marriage. This is what happens, Shukra 8th house. So whenever you use Shukra in 8th house, and there is a malefic aspect, this happens. The good part was, because it's a powerful Shukra, he's doing Das Mahavidya sadhana. My advice to him was, how I knew Das Mahavidya sadhana. His father came and I said, tell him never to go in Tantra. And he said, he keeps on doing something. When I spoke to him, he said, I'm doing a Das Mahavidya sadhana.
Wow.
This is what I'm doing. I'm not doing any Tantra, but see, if you go deeper in Das Mahavidya sadhana, there are certain rituals you have to do. And this is what he was doing. So whenever the Shukra is in 8th house, it's extremely special position. It gives you interest in metaphysical things, which is beyond the life and death. That's why different sadhanas comes in. That's where the energy. 8th house is like, focused, extremely concentrated house. So whole energy is getting focused, has to get focus of whatever plant is going in to the 8th house. And that is why the Yantras are to be formed for the Shukra 8th house. Because see, what Yantras does is, if you see this Yantra, right? Yeah. Or any Yantra if you see, it's like a transformer. So when there's a short circuit in the chart, like Mars Ketu, Sun Rahu, Moon Rahu, Sun Ketu, or 8th house, basically which is owned by Ketu, 11th house which is owned by Rahu. When what these planets are doing, they're either focusing energies or either making energy expand. You require to regulate these energies, right? If you really study about Yantras, you will realize these are the basically way to make sure that how the energy gets focused or defocused. Like in the center, there is always a bindu from where the energy originates. That's Devi.
Right.
And then there is a circle to regulate that energy. Then there is Ashtkamal, 16 Kamal. If you read about transformers, I don't know whether you are engineering background, right?
Yes, sir.
Transformers, what's the formulation for transformers? N ratio 2. To expand the energy, or you make the turns half to make sure you decrease the energy. So this is what's happening. Either 8 to happening 16, and then there is a regulation circuits.
And there's always a triangle, sir, in there.
Triangles are always like rectifiers to purify the energy. Like it's like you focus your energies and push it somewhere else.
Right.
So you see, then that's why the Yantras are required. This is why and see, the best way to play with the Yantra is, I always say, first of all, draw basic Yantras. See how they are working. Draw a simple triangle. Paint it with, like, let's say, blue color. I mean, today's Friday, paint it with white color. And then you stick it in southeast direction of Shukra. See what happens. Until unless you try, or see which sign your Shukra is in, what's the color of that sign. If your Shukra is in Pisces, that's the clear color. Shukra is in Virgo, that's multicolor. So make a multicolor triangle, stick it in, and then you see what actually happens. And from there onwards, you will start getting the patterns and that's what the science of Yantras is to regularize, is to basically deregularize energy or regularize energy. You see, whenever there is a combination of focused energy in the chart, for example, Shukra is with Ketu. Now what has happened is complete energy is combined, right? The person is not able to use that energy because there is a blockage. That combination will always be solved by Yantra. Secondly, you will see the person is too focused to resolve an issue where the Shukra Ketu is, and that particular body part will start getting damaged. Whenever Shukra is aspected by Mangal Shani, you know that the kidney is damaged. At a certain age, the kidney will have issues. If Shukra is not powerful, it will happen in young age. If it's powerful, it will happen later in the age. Or maybe in the dasha. You have to wait for that dasha. Right. So this is how you actually use and make yantras or make remedies for.
Here we know what are we going to do. I should not be saying it, but I'm still telling you. Make yantras, the simplest one as sir just suggested, and take notes of it, and then you can take out the pattern of it, and then you might not need astrologers. That's what sir believes, Teach people how and what to do, and then they will not need the.
I will liberate people by
knowledge. Right.
Instead of I will liberate people by the knowledge.
Right.
Instead of, if you know this is my trouble, like if I'm telling you a sutra of whenever the Rahu Ketu is, this is where the energy gets focused, and this is where you actually need yantra to declassify this energy, and this will help you over a period of time. You will realize this will solve half of the problem for the 90% people in their chart. Because most of the trouble axis is Rahu Ketu axis.
Right.
Like Rahu 7th house, the energy is scattered, it's like going all over the place.
Yeah.
You need a yantra where the energy starts coming in and gets focused at one place.
And then at least the native can use it.
That's very simple.
Right. Okay. Probably some people will be very interested in knowing. Sir, you just used the word tantric.
Yep.
Venus in 8th house. This single statement cannot justify if a person can master certain vidyas. Okay. What other things should be supporting it for a person to be proficient in these vidyas?
So, let me start with the shloka.
Okay.
Saturn Ketu makes a failed sannyasi. So whenever you see Saturn Ketu in a chart, you know the person has tried sannyas, and it's only the sannyas which is you can look. It's not there. For sannyas to get fructify, you require Shukra.
Oh.
Either in trine,
Okay.
or either with the combination, or either in the aspect. You require Shukra.
Okay.
Now, when you say what can give you the knowledge of the 8th house, so either Ketu or the planet of the 8th house has to be in special position. Yeah. It has to get linked to your Lagan Lord because the interest has to come in. It has to get linked to your 10th house so that you can make it a profession if you can make it. Gets a link to the 9th house, it means you'll get help from the Guru. Or the 5th house where you will acquire for your Purva Punya, you will exhaust your Purva Punya to learn this knowledge. So whenever there is a Saturn Rahu, whenever you see 8th house, in a combination with moon or aspect or trine with moon, Saturn Rahu Venus, Saturn Ketu Venus, the person is interested, 8th house Lord whenever gets in special position, the person is extremely proficient with the things related to 8th house. Let me give you a very interesting example. It's not only Tantra, it's basically metaphysical things. It's outer space things.
Right.
See, Preeti, from 1st to 8th, it's life and death.
Yeah.
You born and you die. Mars, both ruled by Mars. But there is something which is beyond life and death. That starts from the 8th. That's where when people go and bow in front of God, that's 9th house. Their blessing and curses will change everything. 10th house is outer house. 11th is the outer house. 12th, same thing. It's nature. To experience something in life, you will go and try everything in life. And still when something is not working, you go to temple.
Right.
Because that's where you will surrender, right? That I've tried everything now. Whatever was in my hand. Now when this 8th house combination is about to run, why Elon Musk is doing Martian thing right now? Because his Rahu is with Mars in 8th house in the Rashi chart.
He's bound to make solar...
He's 2 more years. Yeah. I guarantee you, 2 more years, Dasha will change and he will shift his whole portfolio. He will say, I will become the Wall Street banker. Because Jupiter is in Scorpio.
Right.
Now the thing is Mars is exalted. It is with Rahu. That's why the innovation is coming in. He's just bound to do everything in a certain manner. The dasha will end, he will go back to do something else. But you can take it in spiritual terms. I mean, this would have been a planet like Jupiter or a Shukra, which is a guru. He's bound to learn these kind of sciences. All those people who have studied physics, astrophysics, Yantras, and all these metaphysical things, they have a strong 8th house. There's a wonderful book which I have recommended many times. Houses 8 and 3.
Houses 8 and 3.
This is the name of the book, House 8 and 3 by Dr. S.S. Chatterjee.
Okay.
He is one man. All his books I've read. I mean, his books I don't keep here. Okay. Reason is, his books are like gold mines. If you read his book now, I met him twice at his house many years back, like 7 or 8 years back maybe. He is a man who will speak with one line, one sutra, and then he will say, okay, it will work like this. He has like dictums made up. So he has multiple books written. I have almost every one of them. But if you read it, whenever you get bored, whenever you see you're not getting motivation, just read any of his book from anywhere in the subject, and you realize he has multiple dictums written. And randomly, I mean, he writes so random that you know while reading it, he is writing in a certain mode. And this is who he truly is. I mean, when you go to his house, there's a simple sofa and then there's a books everywhere. And in between, he's sitting with his old laptop on pile of books and is writing. He used to be a scientist, chemical scientist, and is writing constantly. So see, there are people whom you should read.
Okay.
And you should respect them for what they have done. He's one of the, I mean, I don't respect most of the writers in astrology. And say it very bluntly because, I mean, you read a book and you say like, okay, nothing new, nothing which excites you. But they are writers, you respect because they have put soul in that book.
Right.
That book.
Right.
That's one of the books.
So when you were explaining this whole scenario that he was sitting with in a sea of books, this reminds me of a situation. I used to live in hostel during my graduation, and there was this friend. She used to study, and she will, whatever book she was studying, she will keep it near the pillow. And I'm like, why are you sleeping like this? And she's like, what? Keep here goes into my brain when I'm sleeping, and now I can make sense with it.
See, that's why there are certain books now I never get it out of my personal library.
Right.
Reason being is, I mean, they're too valuable. It's not like that they will not be available, but it's like, you have marked in it, you've written notes on it, and you have worked with them over a period of time.
Right.
Like one of his dictums says, any malefic behind the moon, the person is a superstar. See, one line dictum, that is. And whenever it's like then he says it acts like a battery for moon. And then I realize the depth of this particular combination is, now you go and check in every chart who you think is when you say superstar, it means the person has done something great in life. And then you will find out in every chart the dictum works.
So but this information is not allowed to be shared now. What people will do, they'll go and they'll look at the that one line dictum and they'll be like, I'm not a superstar. More, I still have a malefic behind my moon.
That is why, I mean, people who have not read like this. I mean, let me give you, if you want to learn about books now, there's a very old book which is without Rahu and Ketu. I mean, earlier, older astrologers never used to take Rahu Ketu in account. When I say old astrologer, it's like very old.
Ancient.
So there was a book about without, and when you read it, the whole book is very different. Now, when you read writers like this, they are assuming that you are at a certain level. That's why you have brought this book.
Yeah.
Otherwise, go read something very simple. Now, I mean, people, what they will do, they will write 10 shloks from Phaldipika to Jatak Parijat. No explanation and no experience because they've never done readings, and then they will keep on printing books. What is the use of it if you have not put wisdom into it because you have never done readings? That's why there's no feedback, there's no personal experience to add it to it. But when you read someone who has done readings, when you read someone who has done practical experience, or someone who is as great as Maharishi Parashar, who is writing from the divine, he cannot be wrong. And every time there are shlokas which you will read and you will laugh when look at the chart, and they'll say, yeah, it works brilliant. It works so brilliant that you cannot miss it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a shlok when I think it's from Yavan Jatak. When sun is Vargottam, or any planet which is Vargottam, sitting in 10th house, the person does the best of that signification. Means if the sun is in Vargottam in 10th house, the person does family business. When sun is debilitated in Navansh, sitting in 10th house, the person does own business. When sun is exalted in the 10th house, the person is a Prakhand Pandit. When it is with Rahu, the person knows 16 types of Vidya.
There cannot be a better example of exceptions as we are talking now.
But I'm telling you, Mercury, when debilitated in Navansh,
Yeah.
the person has a lot of quality time.
Yeah.
Now you see, debilitated in Navansh, all the classicals will say, but I will tell you two books, Hora Sara by Priti Sahas, or Mercury debilitated. This is, I think, from Javan Jatak. Both of them says the person will have, one of them says the person will be knower of Vedas, will have everything by hand. He will be very proficient in Vedas. This is what the Prithvi Sahas says, son of Varahamira. The another shlok says from Javan Jatak, the person will have a lot of quality time. Now, you cannot beat this kind of information and then you can just apply on one chart or your own chart and family chart and say it does not work. No, it doesn't. It never works like this. You have to sit through to understand, and after many months maybe, due to the divine intervention, you might understand the part of that shlok.
Only a part.
Only a part.
Yeah.
This is what I've realized over a period of time by when you do readings. And when you're applying, that point of time you're doing your bread and butter. Basically, you're things which never fails.
Yeah.
And after reading, what you do, you make notes. You write down what is actually happening, and then you look for 7 city points, and then you go in depth, and that's how you remember basically the shlokas, how it is actually matching up. And this is what the beauty of jyotish is. Now you can't say, one day one chart somebody is teaching and say it doesn't work. I mean, who asked you does work in your chart or not? You're not worth it.
Yeah.
It is the information you need to learn. There's a certain amount of basics. If Maharishi Parashar is telling you something, he's assuming you're considering 6 types of strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's assuming you know about you have the different mudras and avasthas of the planet. And if you don't know about it, you cannot make a judgment. So this is what I mean, let me ask you before we end, let me ask you a simple question. What is the difference between Venus in quadrant and Venus in trine?
Venus in quadrant, 2 houses are his own houses, so definitely he does govern certain things, and they are.
I need one answer. Tell me what it actually gives. It's very simple, right?
Direction.
Venus in Kendra will always give you physical things. Will give you jewels, will give you car, will give you everything. Venus in trine will give you a lot of respect. Will give you. Venus in Kendra will you become a minister. Venus in trine, you know a minister. This is the biggest difference. Now this difference comes from by reading, like I don't know how many hours of books, how many hours of efforts goes in, then this line comes in your head and they say, okay, this is actually, it works. So when someone says, my Venus exalted doesn't work, I feel, okay, which house, what is supposed to do, which strength you're looking at. This is how a Shukra actually works. And then there are different parameters you judge as Shukra. But this one line will teach you, this one line, no book is going to teach you in that straight manner. It comes And that's why I always tell people, you can't learn jyotish in a quick format.
So this reminds me, I was walking into a doctor's cabin and it was written in broad letters there, please do not confuse your Google knowledge with my degree.
Absolutely.
And sir, I forgot.
No.
I was about to ask you something. अभी आप जो भी a couple days ago, so you were talking about an eminent personality, and you did mention that he has debilitated Mercury in D9.
Yes. And in the Dashansh as well.
He knows language as the backside of the palm,
But that's what the debilitated Mercury does.
Yeah.
So whenever I say, when people say excuse, my Mercury is debilitated, I say, okay, that's not the excuse, because a debilitated Mercury is supposed to give you a brilliant language. You has to become brilliant orator. You cannot say my Mercury is debilitated, that's why it's not happening. I will show you people who have debilitated Mercury, but this whole concept of debilitation exaltation is Sthanbal.
Yeah.
The only thing that is going to affect you, your position amongst the Mercurian, amongst the Mercury people. So that's what's going to happen with you. But other than that, you're going to learn all these shlokas, all the Vedas. You will have a lot of knowledge in your life, and that's what the debilitated Mercury does.
So now we are not supposed to be scared of any debilitation planets. They do have their own strengths. Sir, again, one of the questions which now young people will like, and it might sound a little funny, but nowadays there are a lot of memes with shairi written in it.
Okay.
As per my knowledge, probably Venus in Scorpio do give a liking for that type of shairi, where it says, all by due respect, can I say one?
Yes.
There's this shairi which was going on the internet. तेरी आँखों के बारे में लिख तो दूँ मैं, तेरी आँखों के बारे में लिख तो दूँ मैं, पर वो खूबसूरती ही क्या जो शब्दों में बयां हो जाए.
Okay. So you think that's Venus Scorpio?
Yes, sir.
But will not it be Mercury will come in?
Yeah.
Or Venus in a Mercurian sign will come in? I know someone who remembers all the poetries like this,
Okay.
or from Ghulam Ali to everyone, but he has an extremely brilliant Shukra.
Okay.
And that his Shukra is in Libra but in affliction. There is a very close connection with Mercury, but yes, his Shukra is in third house.
So you know why I mention it? Because all the shairi is about perception. Some
Yes.
people will not like it. They'll be like, "ये क्या बोल रहे हैं?"
हाँ.
And the other people will be like, "Wow, it's deep."
But that's Shukra Budh.
Shukr Budh, right? Of course, it is going to interest a lot of people, because the only thing that they want to visit any consultant or astrologer for that matter is remedies.
A remedy for which part?
Yeah, very good question. Coming from a very learned person, remedies for maybe getting a good partner and maybe luxury. Of course, it is going to interest a lot of people, because the only thing that they want to visit any consultant or astrologer for that matter is remedies.
A remedy for which part?
Yeah, very good question. Coming from a very learned person, remedies for maybe getting a good partner and maybe luxury.
Okay, so for a good partner, the punya has to be there.
Right.
For example, if let's suppose you have a bad combination in 7th house or a debilitated planet in 7th house, that planet has to, that consciousness is missing. That's why you're going to commit that mistake. This is basically what's going to happen. So how does the consciousness comes in? Is by learning.
Yeah.
That you get aware about the situation.
Yeah.
But usually what happens is when you are young, 27, 28, 30s maybe, and you're searching for a partner,
Yeah.
your consciousness is missing. You're not actually looking. Even one of my students the other day came for consultation, and I told him, yeah, don't get married. You don't have a good navansh, and it's not suggested from my end. And he said, sir, Jupiter dekh raha hai na. Jupiter will save me. I said, no, Jupiter is not going to save you. Don't be in a, because see, his brain is constantly in mode, somehow I will get married.
Yeah.
So even if when you're giving advice, he is counter is doing the counter thing. He's saying, no, Jupiter is watching. Okay, there's -3, and I told him, see, there's a -4 and there's a +1.
Yeah.
Can you do the maths? Still -3. Not going to save you. And Jupiter was not that powerful to save him. So even when you go for a remedial part, I mean, the best of the best remedies for the, good marriages, pray to Bhagwan Shiv. Why Bhagwan Shiv? Because Bhagwan Shiv remains in Samadhi. And that's what the Mool Mantra of marriage is, I always say. Samadhi is you don't react.
Right.
You accept things as they are, because what is happening is you have to accept another person. Now that person is activating your 7th house constantly.
Right.
It is your 7th house which is getting activated. So if it's a bad combination, you're going to go downfall after marriage.
Right.
If it's a good 7th house, you're going to rise after marriage. Now, depends on if you do not have that kind of a punya acquired in your chart. Whose fault it is you.
Right.
So you can go to, I mean, you can make a yantra if it's a Ketu Rahu, that can solve to a certain extent. Secondly, your consciousness, which comes from the remedial parts.
Yeah.
And moreover, sadhana Bhagwan Shiv.
Okay.
Because nobody can, I mean, there's another remedy which is Lalita Sahasranam and establish of Shri Yantra, but that's too complicated for beginners basically, because there's a certain amount of procedures involved. And that is to be given in certain cases only. But that affliction has to be removed by you. For example, Mars is debilitated, I will say, help young people getting married.
Right.
Mars is land, so give some land. If you cannot give land, what you can give is give some support.
Right.
So what you're doing, you're nullifying that karma. A bad plant has to be nullified by your karma. You can't say I will do puja and then abuse everyone everywhere every day. Not going to work.
Yeah.
Similarly, for luxury part, as long as I have told this many times, as long as you have food to eat, a bed to sleep, your body is working all right, you have no right to complain. Because there are people who will not be able to wake up properly without pain in their body, injections in their body, going through multiple things, and still have to survive. So even you have a lot of money and still body is not responding, everything is zero. So take care of your body. I mean, if everything is working all right, I will suggest everyone, please take care of your body. It's a most brilliant asset you have got. Secondly, take care of your mental health. Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
When you learn, what happens is you generate happiness. When you I mean, the purpose of this podcast is to give you happiness, right? And that is where the knowledge has to come out.
Right.
People who do not learn will always remain depressed, sad. They will always find excuse for something, and they are unhappy with themselves. That's why they abuse everyone.
True.
This is a basic thing. Is the third thing is physical health, mental health, and then these two are all right. Everything else will be taken care of. Because the person who is physically fit, mentally fit, I mean, what else is left? The money will flow in.
Yeah.
The luxury will come in.
Yeah.
A person might have a lot of money but not physically okay, mentally is tense. You have spoiled everything in your life.
True.
So there's one thing which I always tell people. Look at what is causing trouble.
Okay.
The main issue. Who is constantly creating trouble. Cut that person off the life. I mean, you have to handcraft your happiness every day. If you have to live a certain life now, I'm telling you have to take decisions now. Every day you wake up and you take decisions. Okay, this is, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do. And you will see slowly a life becomes better. It never happens in a day. I was telling this to a friend who is waiting for he's working for a company, and he says, this particular person is going to open a company and I'm going to join it in. And I listened to him one day, and next day I told him, I said, all I hear is someone is going to do something, then your life will improve.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a reactive mode. That email will never come. I can tell you this right now. Do one thing, imagine everyone is dead. This is the philosophy which is taught to me by my boss like 15, 20 years back when I was 21 years old, 20 years back almost. He was a US Navy SEAL guy. So he taught me this principle. He said, when I was giving excuse for something, that when this will happen, then I will do this, and then I will go and do this. And he said, imagine everyone is dead. Now what you will do? Will you wait for someone to get reborn? And I said, no. And I said, then make it a mantra of your life. And this is how I take decisions. If I have to do something, and I've decided I will do this, so I will say, okay, let's get this done. So then people will come and say, this is difficult. Yeah. People will say, this cannot be done. Or this person who wanted to do is not available. And I say, okay, imagine everyone is dead. Then what will happen? Then who is going to do it? Then what happens is your brain goes in a very different zone. Now you're not dependent. And this is what I told him. I said, imagine everyone is dead. Then how are you going to start a company? And the person said, okay, this is a very interesting thought. And see, this is coming from a wisdom of a person who has served in Iraq. He was a bomb disposal squad leader. He handled many missions. And then because he got bomb disposed of near him and he got Parkinson, he came in a civilian type of a job, a semi-civilian type of a job. And then he is teaching you the wisdom of lifetime. And this is a wisdom when you carry with you. You realize you're not dependent on anyone. That if this person is going to do this, then I will do this, and that email will never come. And this is a problem with many people. And this is the reason I never did government jobs. Because then you have to be dependent on someone else.
And we can tag them as excuses.
Excuses. It's an excuse, right? So for happiness now, you have to handcraft it yourself today.
Right.
You cannot say, one day this will happen, then this person will do this, then I will get happy. No, not going to happen. That's why most of people, 90% people stay in a reactive mode. That's why 10% people run the world. So if you have decided now that you are going to do this, just wake up. This is what I told you other day. Imagine ki everyone is not there. Just tell me how it's going to get started. We'll start it. And this is how things actually work for people who are happy in their life.
So while growing up, during the examination, there was always a question about idioms and proverbs and phrases, though I was giving the examination back in the day, but recently, maybe a couple of years ago, I realized if there is a proverb, they are for a reason. Yeah. People have said them after a lot of experience. So this reminds me of that proverb, Rome was never built in a day.
Yes. Every day you have to handcraft it. When I say handcrafted, you have to take active decisions with not relying on anyone else. Because people will make excuses that we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it day after tomorrow, or someone else will show up and do it. No, not going to happen. Tell me what it takes to get it today. And then you will see the attitude will change. I was asking someone, I want to build something, some carpenter work. The person said, the labor is shortage and this is. I said, okay, I'm not asking for a nuclear scientist. Tell me how it is going to get happened.
Right.
Even if you require a nuclear scientist, if you decide that you want to get a nuclear scientist, you will get it.
Yeah.
So that's the mental blockage which people live with. Right. And I hope this helps, this last part helps people grow out of their mental blockage.
So I always say this, when males specifically come back and say, nowadays females as well, I do not know cooking. I'm like, it's not a rocket science, guys. Come on.
Absolutely. It's not.
It's all about how much efforts or intention you have.
If you're hungry, you know how to cook.
Exactly. Basic life skill, right?
Yes. Which people take for, again, entitlement and taking granted.
Yeah.
So I hope the Shukra helps people. Entitlement and taking granted.
Yeah, that is true.
I hope the Shukra helps people.
Thank you so much, sir. This was a really interesting podcast and very deep answers to some very prevalent questions nowadays. I hope people will like it. And if they have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments and we'll try to answer them as soon as possible and as many as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.